Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Smash that like button and drop a comment with a little white heart in it, just so I know you're really rocking with us. And hey, make sure you're subscribed. We're trying to hit that 1 million mark as fast as we can. Also, I highly recommend checking out the last part of this series so you're not totally lost watching this one. Cool? Cool. So last time we left off, Rick took Shane out for good, and after that, he gathered the crew at the farm and dipped out. Why? Because the place got overrun by walkers, completely swarmed. Ever since then, they've just been out here, looking for somewhere to settle down. But don't forget, my friend, we saw a huge prison behind them while they were chilling, and they didn't even notice. Anyway, that's where Season 3 picks up. It's been a few months since all that, and Rick's out here still searching for a fresh start. So now him, Daryl, and the rest of the group roll up on this house and start clearing it of walkers, guns blazing. Even Carl's become a mini badass now. Kids handling a gun like a pro. Once they take out all the walkers, they bring everyone in. Herschel, Lori, and the rest. Lori's super pregnant now, like any day now. But Rick, still salty with her after what went down at the end of last season when she flipped out about Shane. But Lori's got bigger problems. She's about to have a baby, and they don't even have a safe place to stay. Right as they settle in, boom. More walkers show up, so the crew jumps in their cars and takes off again. And if you're wondering why they don't just fight, it's because they're starving and exhausted. No way they're winning a full-on brawl right now. After a while, they stop to rest and clean up a bit. Rick and Daryl head into the woods to hunt, and guess what? They finally spot that prison. Same one we saw before? Thing is, it's full of walkers, but it's built like a fortress, with strong fences and space to grow food. So Rick's eyes light up. He's like, this could be it. They roll up on the prison, cut through the fence, and start the mission to clear it out. Rick splits the team, some on watchtowers, some by the gates, and he goes in to secure the inner doors. They all start taking out walkers from every angle. It's a whole operation. Eventually, they get the yard cleared, seal it up, and decide to camp there for the night. Rick's still ignoring Lori, by the way, cold as ice. Next morning, they leave some folks in the yard while Rick, Daryl, Maggie, Glenn, and T-Dog push inside the prison. But it's rough. Some of the walkers are armored up like riot cops, so they're extra tough to kill. Still, the crew handles it. They clear out one of the prison wings, and thankfully it's mostly empty. Only a couple walkers. So they call everyone in, settle down, and finally it starts to feel like home. Everyone grabs a cell, ready to chill for the night. Next day, they gear up and head deeper into the prison to clear more areas. Rick leaves Lori, Carol, Beth, and Carl back in the safe zone while the rest explore. They're walking through pitch darkness, hoping it's empty, but nope, big horde jumps them. Maggie and Glenn get separated, Herschel gets bit by a walker, and it's chaos. Rick kills the walker and drags Herschel to safety, just as the others regroup. They lock themselves in the prison cafeteria, but now they've got a big problem. If they don't act fast, Herschel's turning. So Rick, with no time to lose, chops off Herschel's leg to try and stop the infection. Rough scene. But just as he finishes, he turns around and sees 5 prisoners standing there in shock. Rick doesn't know who they are or how they're still alive. So he gets Daryl to keep them under control while they rush Herschel back to try and save him. Carol gets to work stopping the bleeding, and Rick tells Glenn not to leave his side in case the leg thing didn't work. Meanwhile, Rick goes back to confront the prisoners. Turns out they've been locked in there for 10 months. Cops abandoned them when the world went to hell. They don't know anything about what's been happening. Rick breaks the news. The world's over, and everyone's infected. The prisoners are stunned, but one of them, Thomas, tells Rick to leave the prison. Rick's like, yeah, not happening. They almost throw down, but calm down enough to make a deal. Rick offers to help them clear out another cell block where they can live, separate from the main group, and in return, they'll share half their food stash. So they head back to the cafeteria and grab supplies. Turns out the prisoners have a goldmine of food. They take their share and head back to the others. Good news, Herschel's stable. For now. Rick tells Lori about the prisoners and that they'll be helping them clear more of the prison soon. In exchange for the food, Rick just leaves them and heads back to the prisoners with Daryl and T-Dog. At that moment, the whole group was clearing out one of the prison blocks from the walkers, but the problem was, the prisoners didn't get it. Like they didn't understand that to kill a walker, you gotta go straight for the brain. So it turned into a total mess. But even with all that chaos, Rick explained it to them once, twice, even 3 times, till he finally got them to listen and follow orders. Eventually, they started killing walkers the right way. But while they were doing that, Big Tiny got scared and backed up a little to hide. Unfortunately, a bunch of walkers jumped him, and one of them scratched him on the back. Rick showed up quick and took out all the walkers around him, but he was shocked when he saw the wound. Now Rick's telling everyone he's not sure if that scratch could turn him into a walker or not, because what they know is that bites turn people, but they don't know about scratches yet. While Rick's still figuring that out of nowhere, Thomas cold-blooded kills Big Tiny. Of course, Rick wasn't cool with that, but instead of arguing, he just keeps it pushing. So they all head to the laundry room in the prison. There was a door there with walkers behind it. The plan was for Thomas to open one door slowly and let one walker in at a time so they could kill him easy. But nah, Thomas didn't do that. This dude opens both doors wide like an idiot, and it turns into total chaos. And in the middle of all the madness, Thomas straight up tries to kill Rick, and even throws a walker at him. Daryl jumps in and saves Rick just in time. That's when Rick finally loses it with this trash dude, Thomas, and ends him with one blow. Dead. Now Andrew, who helped Thomas, gets pissed and starts running, like he's gonna come back later for revenge or something. But Rick chases him down, runs after him all the way out the prison block, right into the walker zone. Then Rick slams the gate shut behind him, locks Andrew outside, and hears him screaming while the walkers go at him. Now look, I'm telling you, Rick heard the guy get eaten, but he didn't see it happen, so keep that in mind, my friend. Anyway, after that, Rick heads back to Daryl and T-Dog and finds them holding down Axel and Oscar. Rick pulls out his gun and starts threatening to kill both of them. But then Rick realizes they're just harmless dudes, and they didn't do anything wrong. They don't deserve to die. So instead, Rick leads them to the prison block they cleared out earlier, leaves them there, and tells them, look, I made a deal with y'all from the beginning. Here's your block. Live here. But if I see you anywhere near us again, I'll kill every last one of you. Then he just leaves them and walks off with the others. After that, Rick, T-Dog, and Daryl go back to their people. Over there, Rick sees that Herschel is looking a lot better, still unconscious but stable. Rick stands next to him, looking sad. Suddenly, Herschel wakes up, and out of everyone, he looks straight at Rick with a thankful smile and shakes his hand. Rick lights up with happiness, like, damn, it worked. We did it. So Rick heads outside. Lori comes over to him. She's trying to talk, trying to patch things up between them, like maybe bring back what they used to have. But Rick's not feeling it. He brushes her off and goes back to the others. Next day, Rick, Daryl, and the crew go back to work, because the prison still needs a ton of fixing up to actually live in. They're working non-stop till Rick suddenly sees Axel and Oscar standing outside their block, looking toward Rick's group. So Rick walks over, all serious, and goes, "Didn't we agree if I see your face again, you're dead?" Axel explains they tried to stay in their zone but couldn't. Too many dead bodies of their friends lying around. He asks Rick if they can join the group. Daryl tells Rick, "Don't do it, man." So Rick locks them up again in their place and warns them not to come out. Rick goes back to the others to talk about it. Everyone agrees with Daryl. They don't want strangers joining, except for T-Dog. He's the only one who thinks they should let Axel and Oscar stay, since they seem harmless and didn't do anything wrong. But since he's alone in that opinion, no one listens. Anyway, they all keep working and eventually head outside to get more supplies. Around this time, Lori, Beth, Herschel's daughter, and Carl take Herschel out for some fresh air. Rick sees them from a distance and smiles, thinking everything is finally chill and all his people are safe. But then, bam! A giant walker herd shows up behind Lori and the others. Rick, Daryl, and the rest sprint over to help. Lori and Carl pull out their guns and start blasting the walkers, but it's way too many. Maggie grabs Carl and Lori and runs into the prison. Herschel and Beth hide somewhere and lock themselves in, Rick, Daryl, and Glenn keep running around trying to help everyone. They finally reach Herschel, who tells Rick, "We're safe, go help the others." Meanwhile, Maggie takes Lori and Carl into a part of the prison that hasn't been cleared yet, so it's packed with walkers. They're running like crazy, trying to find somewhere safe, and finally duck into a half-empty room to hide. But the worst happens. Lori goes into labor. Like right now. Maggie tells her she'll help deliver the baby, but suddenly Lori starts bleeding. That's when they realize the baby's breached. It's upside down and stuck. They need to do a C-section, but there's no Herschel, no doctors, no tools. So Lori tells Maggie to grab a knife and cut her open, to save the baby, even if it means she dies. Maggie's crying, doesn't want to do it, but Lori insists. Lori grabs Carl, hugs him tight, says goodbye, crying her eyes out. Carl's crying too. Then Maggie does it. She cuts Lori open and pulls out the baby. Lori dies right there, but the baby lives. It's a girl. Maggie wraps up the baby and gets ready to go. Carl refuses to leave without finishing it. He says he has to make sure his mom doesn't come back as a walker. So crying his heart out, he picks up the gun and shoots his mom in the head. After that, Maggie and Carl try to find the others and head outside. Meanwhile, T-Dog and Carol are also trying to escape the walkers, but T-Dog gets bitten. Even with that, he keeps running and pushes through with Carol, heading for the back gate. But the back gate is blocked by 2 walkers, and T-Dog has no weapon. So he throws himself at them, sacrificing himself so Carol can escape. He tells her to run, and she does, totally terrified. A little later, Rick, Daryl, and Oscar are coming out of the prison, and they find T-Dog's body, eaten. They kill the walkers and then just stand there in shock. They also find Carol's scarf and think she's dead too. Rick's devastated, but he still hopes Lori made it. He asks Herschel, and Herschel says no one showed up. But then, Maggie comes out, holding the baby, and Carl's walking behind her, broken and crying. The moment Rick sees them, he knows. He realizes everything, and he just loses it, falls to the ground, crying his heart out for the woman he loved and the son who had to put her down. After that, Rick completely snaps. He grabs an axe and tells everyone not to follow him. Then he storms into the prison, hacking through walkers, taking out all his pain and rage. Meanwhile, Daryl and Maggie take a car and rush off to find some formula for the newborn baby. A little later, Glenn is out there digging graves for everyone they just lost. The woman who died today, Axel and Oscar, went to help her, and that's how they officially became part of our group. Anyway, Glenn saw Herschel just standing there, so he went and asked, "What's wrong?" Herschel told him, "Rick's been inside since he went in, and he hasn't come out. I'm worried about him." So Glenn said, "I'll go in and check on him now." And he really did go in and found Rick had killed a bunch of walkers and was just standing there, completely spaced out. Glenn was just about to calm him down and tell him to come back, but Rick grabbed him like he was about to kill him, then realized it was Glenn and told him to leave. Rick went right back to killing walkers. Anyway, later that night, Daryl and Maggie finally came back from outside, thank God, and they brought a decent amount of powdered milk for the new baby. So they started feeding her, and Daryl was the one holding her and feeding her, and he was seriously over the moon with this baby. And right then, Carl suggested they name the new baby Judith. Everyone loved the name and were so happy to have a baby in the group. But Rick was the exact opposite. He was completely out of it, because he had finally reached the room where Lori had died. Unfortunately, he was now in total shock that her whole body had been eaten by some disgusting walker. And that walker had eaten so much of Lori that it couldn't even stand up anymore. So Rick, losing it, grabbed it and started beating it to death in a rage. After that, he sat down in the corner, totally hopeless, until finally, a new kind of hope appeared. That hope came in the form of a ringing phone inside the prison, right in front of Rick. He answered it, and on the other end was a woman. She told Rick she was in a safe, protected place, and that she was calling random numbers hoping to find anyone still alive. The moment Rick found out she was somewhere safe, he started begging her to take him and his group in, because people in his group were dying off every day. She told him, "Wait a bit, I'll get our leader to talk to you. He'll decide if you can come or not," and hung up. Rick cleaned himself up real good and went back to his group. He found everyone okay, found out Judith had eaten and no one was missing anything. Silently, he walked back to where the phone was and waited. Finally, the phone rang again, and this time the leader was on the line. The guy kept asking Rick a bunch of questions, and the last one was, "How did your wife die?" Rick, still broken up about Lori, couldn't say anything, so the guy hung up. Rick got really upset and started blaming himself for not saying anything, but eventually he calmed down a little, hoping they'd call back. A little while later, Herschel came to check on Rick, so Rick told Herschel about the phone calls and told him not to tell anyone just yet until they were sure there was a real safe place to go. Herschel said, okay, but he had a feeling there wasn't any call or anything, and that Rick was just hallucinating because of the trauma. Still, he left Rick alone and walked off again. After a bit, the phone rang again, and it was the same woman from before. That's when Rick realized there weren't any phone calls. It was all in his head, just hallucinations. And that woman on the phone? It was supposed to be Lori, but just a voice from Rick's imagination. He sat there talking to Lori, totally heartbroken, truly shattered. But eventually he started calming down a bit. After all that, he finally came back to his senses a little, went back to the group, and finally, picked up baby Judith and held her in his arms, smiling. On the other side, we see a strange woman with a sword walking along, dragging behind her two walkers whose arms and mouths were chopped off. We'll find out why she does that later. But this woman, if you remember, was the one who found Andrea at the end of season 2 and helped her. And yeah, we see now that this woman brought back food and water, then went back to a certain place, and there we find Andrea. So now we know that since Andrea got separated from the group, she's been with this woman, whose name is Michonne. And honestly, they're closer than sisters at this point. But Andrea's been sick for a while, so Michonne's been taking care of her. Anyway, they decide it's time to move out and keep looking for a safe place to live. Not long after they start walking, they spot a helicopter flying overhead. There are still some soldiers alive inside. And FYI, those soldiers were heading to meet up with other survivors. But sadly, the helicopter malfunctioned mid-air, crashed to the ground, and exploded right in front of Andrea and Michonne. They immediately ran over to see what the hell happened. When they got there, they saw everyone was dead in a horrible way, except for the pilot, who was still barely alive. Michonne was just about to help him, but then a bunch of trucks showed up to the crash site. They must have seen the chopper go down too. Michonne and Andrea quickly hid behind the trees so no one would see them, but they kept watching from a distance. These new people got out of their trucks and started killing every walker around. By chance, they found the pilot still alive, so they decided to take him with them and help him. Andrea was about to show herself and ask for help too, but then she changed her mind the moment she saw the leader of this new group pull out a knife and start stabbing the corpses of the dead soldiers. Now, just a note, my friend, we all know he was doing that because anyone who dies turns into a walker. But don't forget, Andrea got separated from Rick's group before Rick explained that whole thing. So to Andrea, this guy looked like a total psycho who was stabbing already dead people. Anyway, while Andrea and Michonne are watching all this, one of the people from the new group suddenly finds them and holds them up. And that guy, my friend, is Merle Dixon, Daryl's brother, the guy who got handcuffed on the rooftop back in season 1. When Andrea saw him, she fainted from shock and exhaustion. So Merle and his leader tied up Andrea and Michonne and brought them back to their settlement. Later, when Andrea woke up, she found herself in front of a doctor, and she was being treated so well, she was feeling way better. So Andrea started asking the doctor where she and Michonne were, but the doctor didn't answer. Then Merle came in and started talking to them. He told Andrea that after they left him handcuffed on that rooftop, he cut off his own hand to escape because a horde of walkers was coming for him. Some group found him afterward. His condition was trash at the time, like he had no future, but they still brought him in, treated him, and now he's an important member of their group. At that point, Andrea told him, "By the way, Rick and your brother Daryl came back for you and tried to save you, but you had disappeared. Then Daryl, he tried to search for you again, but a lot of things went wrong. We lost a lot of people, including my sister." So Merle asked her if his brother Daryl was still alive, and she said, "As far as I know, yeah, but I haven't seen them in 8 months. A zombie herd attacked the place we were staying at, and we all got separated. That's when Merle felt a little bit of relief, knowing his brother was still alive. Then comes this guy, my friend, called the governor, and he's the leader of that group Merle ended up with. When he first showed up, Michonne and Andrea were trying to leave. He told them, "Stay the night. This place is safe." But they realized they didn't want to stay with a guy like him. They also saw him killing corpses, even though they were already dead. That's when the governor finally explained, "We're all infected. If anyone dies, no matter how, they'll turn into a walker. You don't have to be bitten." So basically, the people I killed were already walkers. Andrea and Michonne were shocked, but he went on, "Look, stay the night, rest, and tomorrow I'll give you your weapons and you can leave." He even took them out of the hospital they were being kept in. Now they saw that they were in a town protected by the governor and his men, called Woodbury. Andrea was blown away that all this was the governor's place and that people were living like normal. He took her to a room to rest and told her she could see the town the next day. And yeah, Andrea and Michonne went out and saw that the town was full of people living normal lives, like before the apocalypse. Andrea really liked the place and kept exploring. Meanwhile, the governor went back to the hospital to check on the pilot he had saved earlier. The guy was finally recovering, so the governor asked what happened to him. The pilot said, "I was at a military base with a squad, but one of us died and turned, then started biting everyone. It went downhill fast, the base fell apart. I escaped with a few others in my chopper, and we were going to meet up with some other soldiers at a certain location." So the governor asked him where the others were hiding, saying he'd go get them himself. The pilot trusted him and gave him the location. But before heading out, the governor stopped by the lab in town where his buddy Milton was working. Oh, and Merle was also there helping Milton. Anyway, the governor asked Milton to show him what's new. Milton explained, when Michonne and Andrea got captured, Michonne had 2 walkers with her. She'd cut off their arms and jaws. Milton figured out that she did that so they'd be harmless and wouldn't attack anyone. Plus, having them around masked her scent from other walkers. The governor was fascinated by this and took Milton with him to go talk to Andrea and Michonne, hoping Milton could learn even more. So now they were all having breakfast together. Milton tried to talk to Michonne about her pet walkers, but she didn't want to talk. The governor kept it cool so they wouldn't seem too suspicious. Then he started chatting with Andrea, and it was obvious that the 2 of them were starting to like each other. After they were done eating, the governor left and went to where the pilot squad was supposed to be. When he got there, he acted all friendly and said he was sent by the pilot. The soldiers felt safe and came out. Then, bam! The governor's men jumped out from behind the trees and gunned them down one by one. They killed them all. That's when we realized that the governor is seriously messed up. But in his mind, he thinks he's doing the right thing. Like if he brings these guys back to Woodbury, they might try to take over or be a threat. So he took all their weapons and gear back to town. When they returned to Woodbury, everyone was shocked at the amount of weapons and vehicles they came back with. The governor stood in front of everyone and said, "The pilot who saved me passed away from his injuries. But before he died, he told us where his unit was. We went to rescue them, but unfortunately, they were all dead too. So we took their equipment." Later, the governor met with Andrea again. It was obvious by now that she really liked him. The governor, though, left and went to his private room. And here's where we see some twisted stuff. He had fish tanks full of walker heads, including the pilot's head, meaning the governor killed him himself. Worse, in that same room, there was a cage with his zombified daughter. He was keeping her locked up, hoping Milton could someday find a cure. It really showed how mentally broken he was. That night, the governor went out to party with the people of Woodbury. They were celebrating how long the town had been safe. Michonne took the chance to sneak into his house and grab her katana. She started snooping around and almost found the room with the heads and his daughter, but the governor came back, so she jumped out the window and ran. After escaping, she found a cage in town full of walkers. She decided to have a little fun and used her sword to take them all out. The governor heard about it, got mad, and captured her. Anyway, that's it for now. But hey, before you go, what would you do if you were in Michonne's place? Do you think she should have stayed quiet, or was she right to fight back? And what's your take on the governor? Just crazy or full-on villain? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. If you had fun watching, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out. And hey, if you're into The Walking Dead like I am, Make sure you subscribe and turn on that bell so you don't miss the next parts. Trust me, things are about to get real crazy. See you in the next one.